inspired by real-life events. Narrator Adrian Cole woke up at 2:13 a.m. inside a sealed climate control operations bunker beneath Washington, D.C., with emergency warning lights flashing across giant atmospheric monitoring screens and a federal environmental security officer saying, "Your authorization sequence initiated an unsanctioned geoengineering activation across multiple atmospheric regulation arrays." And in that instant, his entire world collapsed because just hours earlier, he was a climate systems engineer working for a global environmental technology consortium responsible for monitoring atmospheric stabilization programs, weather modification satellites, and large-scale climate response networks. And now, he was being treated as the central cause of a classified environmental event that nearly triggered catastrophic weather anomalies across several continents. And the first shock wasn't fear, it was disbelief so deep, it felt like the entire sky above humanity had silently turned against him. Because Adrian's entire career was built on preventing environmental collapse, modeling climate stability, and ensuring large-scale systems remained under human oversight. But now those same systems were defining him as the operator who initiated an unauthorized planetary-scale intervention he had no memory of activating. And within hours, his environmental clearance was suspended, his biometric access frozen under international climate security law, his apartment sealed for federal forensic inspection, and internal atmospheric telemetry logs labeled him as primary anomaly in distributed geoengineering escalation event. And Adrian sat in the interrogation chamber, replaying his last operational cycle, remembering satellite synchronization checks, atmospheric pressure simulations, ionosphere calibration reviews, and then a gap, an unexplained missing execution window between 11:44 p.m. and 1. So 6 a.m., where climate systems showed his authentication profile, initiating high-level atmospheric override commands across multiple global weather control nodes simultaneously. But he had no memory of issuing any of those actions. And when investigators showed him synchronized environmental telemetry displaying abnormal weather pattern shifts unfolding under his credentials across the Pacific, Atlantic, and Arctic regulation grids, Adrian immediately said, "That's not me. I never activated those systems." But the lead environmental officer replied coldly, "The network has already verified full authorization integrity across all climate control layers." And that sentence shattered his understanding, because it meant identity inside planetary systems was no longer about physical intent or human oversight. It was about operational validation inside machines controlling the atmosphere itself. And by sunrise, he was released under continuous international surveillance. While global environmental networks had already internally classified him as a high-risk planetary destabilization vector. And outside the bunker, Adrian stood beneath the dark Washington rain, watching storm clouds move silently across the sky, while invisible climate systems continued regulating temperatures, air currents, and weather patterns despite the crisis tied to his name. And that night, he received a message through an encrypted atmospheric relay saying, "If you want to understand the activation event, come to sublevel chamber, Lambda 4, beneath the abandoned climate observatory. No devices." And despite knowing it could permanently erase what remained of his life, he went because when a system defines you as the threat to planetary stability itself, truth becomes more important than survival. And deep beneath the observatory, he met Dr. Elena Brooks, a former atmospheric systems architect who specialized in climate network, integrity, and geoengineering anomaly reconstruction. And she didn't soften the reality. She immediately showed him reconstructed activation pathways and said, "Your identity wasn't physically present inside the climate command layer. It was replicated through a live atmospheric authentication relay embedded inside the geoengineering network." And Adrian instantly said, "Then I can prove I didn't do it." But Elena replied, "You're still thinking like someone inside human accountability systems, not like someone inside planetary infrastructures where execution becomes accepted environmental truth the moment the atmosphere responds." And she explained that the incident wasn't a single rogue command, but a coordinated manipulation of climate control systems where authentication signatures could be mirrored into atmospheric regulation frameworks, allowing large-scale interventions to execute under legitimate operator identities while erasing conflicting oversight logs across redundant environmental layers. And Adrian's profile had been selected because his operational history was trusted deeply by automated stabilization systems with almost zero anomaly variance, making him the perfect attribution anchor for rapid containment of politically catastrophic environmental incidents. And suddenly, the case wasn't just about climate manipulation. It was about identity replication inside infrastructure capable of influencing the entire planet. And Elena offered him a choice: step away and let the system finalize him as the architect of the geoengineering event, or help her trace the internal atmospheric relay chain before it was permanently overwritten by automated environmental containment protocols designed to preserve global stability at any cost. And Adrian stood in silence, listening to distant thunder vibrations beneath the underground observatory, thinking about billions of people living beneath systems they didn't even know existed. Thinking about years of research spent trying to prevent environmental collapse. And thinking about how fragile identity becomes when even the sky itself can be algorithmically controlled. And finally, he said, "If my identity has already been used to manipulate the atmosphere without my control, then I have nothing left to protect except the truth itself." And that decision pulled him into a hidden layer of planetary infrastructure, where nothing remained stable, because every atmospheric log they analyzed was actively recalculating itself in real time. Every weather trace they followed kept shifting, as if the climate network itself was adapting to their investigation. And soon, they discovered the breach wasn't foreign sabotage, but internal privilege abuse, involving a senior rerouting authentication sessions across geoengineering arrays instituted conceal, unauthorized climber stabilization dots, use some. And Adrian's identity had been selected as the central attribution anchor because it aligned perfectly with automated environmental incident resolution systems designed for rapid containment of globally sensitive climate anomalies. And one night, while analyzing live atmospheric telemetry streams from an isolated offline weather node, Adrian saw something that completely shattered his understanding. His credentials were actively initiating real-time climate adjustment sequences across planetary weather systems, while he was physically disconnected from all environmental networks. And Elena immediately said, "They are continuously simulating your identity inside the atmospheric layer to preserve the operational narrative." And Adrian realized he wasn't just being blamed after the event, he was being continuously reconstructed inside a live planetary system capable of reshaping the environment itself. and pressure escalated rapidly as anonymous containment directives began appearing on secured channels, instructing him to terminate investigation or face permanent classification as an international environmental threat entity, and sleep disappeared completely. Trust collapsed entirely, and even silence felt like monitored atmospheric feedback. And at one breaking point, Adrian whispered, "I thought climate systems existed to protect the future of humanity. But maybe they exist to decide which version of the future survives." And Elena replied, "Systems don't preserve truth, they preserve stability of outcome." And that realization changed everything inside him, because he stopped trying to defend his identity and started focusing only on exposing the mechanism. And as they dug deeper, they uncovered encrypted relay nodes inside global climate infrastructure, continuously generating synthetic environmental histories to distribute blame across multiple operational identity profiles in real time. And Adrian's profile had been amplified as the primary attribution point because it minimized geopolitical fallout and allowed rapid closure of the geoengineering crisis without exposing deeper corruption inside planetary stabilization systems. And when they finally compiled enough verified, encrypted evidence to trigger international environmental oversight escalation, containment protocols activated immediately, attempting to erase atmospheric histories across mirrored climate systems worldwide. And Elena said, "This is where most people are permanently absorbed into official explanations of the planet itself." And Adrian replied, "Then I'll be the anomaly they can't stabilize away." And together, they transmitted secured evidence chains to independent global oversight authorities, while preserving decentralized encrypted backups across isolated atmospheric nodes. And within days, the investigation escalated into a worldwide environmental systems corruption probe, exposing identity replication abuse, geoengineering manipulation, and coordinated planetary infrastructure exploitations across multiple governments and private sectors. And arrests followed within senior climate architecture divisions. And when it was over, Adrian stood alone beneath the storm-filled sky outside the observatory, watching rain fall across the empty streets, realizing that the most dangerous truth about advanced systems is not that they fail, but that they can assign failure to a single identity and make it appear environmentally undeniable. And a week later, when he met Elena for the last time beneath the dim glow of dormant climate monitors, she asked him, "What did this change in you?" And Adrian looked at the endless atmospheric simulations moving across the screens and said, "It showed me that identity inside systems is never authority. It is assigned responsibility." And she asked, "And what did you gain?" And after a long silence, he replied, "The understanding the truth doesn't survive inside controlled planetary systems. It survives only in the people who refuse to accept a version of themselves generated to protect the stability of something bigger than humanity itself." And as he walked away alone into the cold rain beneath the endless sky above Washington, he finally understood the deepest reality of his journey, that sometimes life doesn't destroy you directly. It quietly assigns you the crisis of an entire world and waits to see if you accept the blame. But real survival begins the moment you refuse to become the identity a system creates to protect its own future.